Sure. Hey everyone, it's Brian here from Massey's Main Entertainment. Sorry we've been kind of away for a little bit, but we all have holiday plans that we were kind of circling around and trying to work through. And we finally managed to come out on the other end of this into the new year. So welcome to 2025, everybody. I'm back with my friend Americana Sam again. Last time that Sam and I hooked up, we did Traveling Wilburys, which was a very successful video for us. Surprisingly so in a lot of ways. And we had planned on doing another album. And I think, yeah, maybe 2 weeks ago, we talked about this album as a possibility. And I wanted to do it mostly because it was a kind of a juxtaposed. I think we both felt really strongly in a positive way about Traveling Wilburys. And I was curious about how we would feel about this particular album. And this week, we're doing Charlie XCX's Brat album, which was released this past summer, kind of reaffirming her status as a trailblazer in pop music. This album kind of features introspective lyrics and bold production, and it kind of dives into more personal themes for her and challenging her stardom and resonating with critics and things of that nature. In the UK, it debuted at number 2 on the album chart, sold like 27,000 copies over there, 77,000 units over here, but I think only 40,000 of them were pure sales. It's hard to tell with Billboard 200 now what's actually selling and what's not. It also ranked very high on the dance and electronic album charts over here as well. Brat has garnered widespread acclaim, featured prominently in year-end lists, including the top spot for Rolling Stone's Hot 100 at the end of the year. So this album by Charlie XCX is considered the hitmaker of the year, underscoring this album's cultural and commercial impact. I'm really curious about how you feel about this, Sam. So I'm definitely gonna take the last word on this. And you're younger than I am, so maybe you might feel differently than I might feel of it. But I'm gonna go last, and you go ahead and take the reins.
Well, I will start. When you suggested the album, I you know I had heard the name Charlie XCX. I did not know what she sounded like. Did not know what a hit was for her. And I didn't realize she's been around for as long as she had. But this is like her 10th album or something.
Yeah, it feels right. I think I've only listened to two or three.
And she's 2 years older than I am. She's 32. So I mean, that's a positive for her because in today's world, so many artists put out an album. It takes like 5 or 6 years, between a record. So the fact that she's kind of going at a solid rate, good on her, and I'm sure it's exciting for her fans to have a consistent, every year and a half or so new album. No, yeah, obviously, with my tastes and all that, I am I'm an introspective guy. You mentioned introspective lyrics. I am somebody that loves a songwriter. In my channel name, Americana, that's my wheelhouse. But also enjoy a good hook. I mean, I love groups like the Byrds and Tom Petty and some alt music that has a lot of good hooks. I like pop music. I like NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys. I'm not somebody who completely throws out anything that's past 1990.
Right.
I like some hip hop. I like some modern country that's out of the mainstream, but still some modern country. I like a musical. So I'm saying all this to let the people know, like, oh, you're just this acoustic guitar guy. That's not true. My collection, if you're looking at my collection, you would see bluegrass, you would see soundtracks, you would see musicals, you would see gospel, male, female, all sorts of genres in my collection. So I'll just put that out there. Obviously, I did not own this album, so I listened to it through YouTube. And initial overview, I guess, is that it does kind of go with like that rave culture with like the underground club parties, strobe lights, DJ up at the front, everybody just partying, that sort of stuff, which apparently is her background. That's kind of where she got her started in the UK. I didn't know she was British until I started hearing her talk, before I listened to the record. The record itself, it is not my cup of tea. I mean, it, you know, first, I mean, I didn't know any of the songs, because I don't listen to top 40 radio anymore. Um, there were a couple of songs that, I kind of remember. I think the big one was what, Apple or something. I think it was one of the tracks toward the end. I think it's gotten a lot of play on TikTok. Yeah, Apple. So I might have heard that in my subconscious, like at the mall or something. What I found with a lot of the tracks was repetition. I found a lot of the songs were just, and that's kind of like that whole electronic dance music, EDM kind of culture, where it's the same line, looped with a huge beat under it. And I get how that's a thing at the clubs. I think the thing that frustrates me a little bit about it is, again, listening to the album on YouTube, I'm obviously have the lyric video going through the comments while I'm listening, and the number of people that, are saying, oh, this is a lyrical masterpiece. Charlie is writing, my soul. And for the tweens and, the girls in their 20s or guys, this was obviously on a ton of lists. I know some of my viewers are men who enjoyed this album. But then I was like, okay, well, maybe, she's connecting to this generation, even though she's older than I am, she's connecting to the younger kids. So then I go and look, the songwriting list, and, there's like 15 songwriters per song. And I'm like, how masterful is this really? And again, you don't need to look at pop music as like this very deep thing. Pop music is it's pop, it's popular. It's for the population. And that's what this is. It fits, I have 2 younger sisters. They're probably into this. I don't know. I'm guessing they are. They're big into, Taylor Swift and, Ed Sheeran and Justin Bieber, One Direction when they were out, like all that stuff that, girls in their mid to late 20s are into. But it wasn't for me because, again, I'm not into, a lot of the modern pop, the Billie Eilishes, the Taylor Swifts, Dua Lipa, like all that stuff is just, it's there. I know it exists, but I can't differentiate, a lot of those second tier artists. I know what Taylor Swift sounds like. I know what Billie Eilish sounds like, but then you have like, these Sabrina Carpenter, Dua Lipa, Charlie XCX, like I put 100 songs in, I probably wouldn't get 100%. So, nothing really stood out as being oh, well, that's a song that I could go back to, because it was repetitive. It was that dance, beat kind of music. Even the lyric videos on YouTube are all stroby and flash. I couldn't even look at it on my phone or my laptop while listening to it, because it was going to give me a headache, watching the lyrics. But yeah, again, themes, a lot of themes that I can't relate to, being, a white male, so like I'm not in that culture at all, in terms of, what her background is. Again, party culture. I think she had some drug issues. I think there's a line about, bumping lines in one of the songs that's just repeated over and over again. So stuff like that, I can't relate to that, but I can see why it's in today's world, why it's popular, which is a big reason why I don't like today's music. So that's my opinion on it.
Okay. Well, I was really curious about it anyway. So
yeah.
I want to preface, I know that you're just like me in that you and I are not automatically dismissive of any genre of music. I understand that there are good and bad examples of any genre out there. I've learned that, about jazz. I've learned that about blues. There are definitely people I prefer when I listen to jazz, and there's other artists that I don't listen. Like I don't like Ornette Coleman, experimental jazz, but I love Donald Byrd and John Coltrane. The hard bop guys. I really like those guys, and that that's just kind of part of the whole taste thing. So I didn't want to be automatically dismissive of the album. So I did listen to this album quite a bit. I listened to it back in the summertime when it first came out. And I just didn't know what I was listening to, because obviously I'm 55 years old. So it's like, that's the ability for even what she's singing about to resonate with me is 0 to 1. I'm out of 100. Then maybe it actually resonates with me in some reason. But I did listen to the at least 3 times now in the last couple weeks, and I tried to like grab some things out of it that I thought were kind of endearing or something I could latch on to. 360 was a song that I remember her. I think she did this one on Saturday Night Live. She had a phrase in there that I was curious about called "I'm so Julia," and I was like, "What is he talking about?" And evidently, he's a model named Julia, and it just basically means being at the center of attention. So it's a song about like egocentric hubris, things like that, which I'm sure that she has to deal with all the time. Maybe she has to maybe mentally check herself from getting into those things. Von Dutch was another one that I thought was kind of interesting. It talks about a nation's obsession with things cult in nature, which I look at her as a brand more than her music now. It's because I think that people say Charlie XCX and it's a brand. Brat is a brand and not necessarily music. That's how I view it now after looking at some of the stuff on this album.
Yeah.
My favorite song on there was "Girl So Confusing." I thought it was the best track, kind of this song about the dichotomy of the sexes, female point of view versus male point of view on the same subject matter. The one that talked about her insecurities in a modern relationship. I'm sure that's about the only one maybe I can connect with. Yeah, I could connect with it 30 years ago, probably better. And the back-to-back track was pretty cool because I like the heavy synth on it. But it was so lyrically sparse. That's the problem. Like you said, it's like, okay, if you're going to take one line and just repeat it for 2 minutes, I have a hard time somebody trying to tell me how lyrically strong her album is. Now, maybe it's lyrically strong for today's particular generation. I'm not casting disparaging things. I'm just saying that based on my experience, it's not like there's not a whole lot of heavy lyricism coming out of modern pop music. I don't see that. I don't think that's something that young people are looking for. I just don't think so. I think they're looking for their 2-minute songs that are quick, easy, kind of talk about their lives in a meaningful way, and that's what they want. It's something that they can play in the background of their TikTok videos, and maybe and have some type of culture reference that they can like display for their friends and stuff, and that's fine if that's what they get out of it. My old man in the lawn moment is this. I said, do I think that this album is going to be relevant 5 years from now? Maybe still, but is it going to be around 10 years from now? I will bet $1,000 that no one's going to even remember that this album was best album of the year 10 years from now. Because the demographic that she's appealing to is going to be adults by then. And it's just not going to resonate with them because it's going to be something different. It's going to be something less than even her. The album, for the few things that it has, it really just is catering to the lowest denominator. That's really what's going on here. It's like she's doing just enough to appeal between the 13 to 21-year-old female crowd. That's exactly where her target audience is. And I'm not going to say she doesn't hit the mark. She hits the mark. But there, once that crowd grows up, if you're still doing that type of music, when she's 42, it's a little hard to kind of pass that off as you're one of them.
Which that's part of, I think, why Taylor Swift has continued to have success is because she's grown up with her fans. Even if it's not your cup of tea, that's what she's doing.
Yeah, Taylor Swift, quite honestly, I've run her discography. I think she's got some of the most well-produced albums that I've ever heard. Red, in 1989 are extremely well-produced, well-written albums that I'm going, I don't think there's a comparison between these two. If you had to give it a score out of 10, try to be as nice as possible, what would you think you'd give it, Sam?
There's probably 2 different scores I would give it. If we're gonna give it a score based off of, we just started 2025. The youth of 2025, the young adults, the college kids. They're. I think Rolling Stone hit it on the mark with it being the best pop album because that's what pop is in 2024. That's what the radio wants. if I'm going to give it a score on musicality, singing, lyrics, flow, like all the stuff that, people that, are used to listen to albums in their entirety, record people. I mean, I would be hard pressed to give it a 2. I mean, like there was not depth there. Again, it was a bunch of lyrics at the front, maybe, of a song. And I'll say a bunch, like a minute's worth of music. And then just, a chorus a couple of times and a beat. Now, obviously there are exceptions. People are going to come at you in the comments like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. This song, I know that. But if you take it as a piece, I don't think it. I mean, a 2 is generous. Will I ever listen to it again? Probably not. I won't. So I mean, that a two is generous for my taste. In today's world, an 8, a 9, maybe a 10. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would have to like talk to some younger people. I mean, I'm a coach. I could probably talk to some younger people, and get their feel for it. Maybe I won't be as harsh as you, because I see where it kind of lands. I'm not going to be Robert Christgau, who would just absolutely scathe an album like this, because Robert Christgau is like 80 years old. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like, he's not it doesn't resonate with him. But I'm not going to be Anthony Fantano either. And Anthony Fantano thinks is like the greatest thing since, gravy on sliced bread. I don't know. I'm going to give it like a 4.5. Okay. It's fine. If somebody's playing it in the background of their car and when I'm catching a ride with them or something, I'm not going to complain. But at the same time, you're never going to see me spin this at my house. I mean, it's just not going to happen. And, I'd be hard pressed to I want to probably take it off my Spotify list so it doesn't get lost in the shuffle somewhere.
Yeah, in the algorithm. Yeah.
Probably what's going to happen. So I give it a 4.5. Yeah. Nice. I'm going to say 4.5. And I just don't think as highly of it as some of the critics did. And I think some of that is part of it is they don't want to be that critic who hates on this record. And then of course their editor says, well, if you're going to hate on young people's music, then we've got to move on. You know what I mean? Because I understand when I was in the radio station business that we had to cater and to record companies all the time. We were always caving in and manipulating charts and things like that. And I understand that those things exist. And so I think critics sometimes feel the pressure to say something is when it actually isn't. Yeah. But that's not for me to totally say. But Sam, I do appreciate you doing that. I know it was kind of arduous for both of us. Yeah. But I wanted to get this album out of the way since it did win Album of the Year for Rolling Stones. I appreciate everyone who watches our videos. Give us some love on this video. Like, sub, comment down below. I'm not some of our older ones. I'm not asking you to go listen to Charlie XCX necessarily. And if you did, I understand if you never spoke to Sam and I again, ever. But until next time, everybody, take care. We'll catch you pretty soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.